everybody back to part of something real. Okay, today's video, or this video that I'm going to do, is taken out of First Chronicles. I believe it's chapter 17, goes into great detail about a census that King David had the bright idea of using. Now, at this time, and actually many years afterwards, and today, our governments will use censuses. And it's not this, benign, what are we doing it for? There's a whole bunch of reasons that people do a census. I mean, there are some programs that are based upon census numbers. The number of congressional representatives in a state is based upon how many voters are in certain districts, okay? So at the time that David had this big, brilliant, bright idea to have a census, it wasn't based on, in his heart. He was not trying to do that for any other expressed reason that we know of beyond. He was wanting to count how many fighting men he had access to for the purposes of warfare. Okay? Now, he was looking at not only fighting age men, and adults and so on, but he wanted to count men that were under the age of 20. Now, was he going to start this when they were 15, 16, 14? I do not know. Okay? I know that David was a shepherd boy when he killed Goliath, but David was an exception. Okay? That's why, that can be in part the reason why Jesse, his father, did not bring David in from the fields to be examined by Samuel, because Samuel had gone to, David was a boy at that time, but David's father, Jesse, to say, God has told me to come to your house. We're going to have another king after Saul, one day, and I'm supposed to anoint with oil and dedicate to the king's service, to the service of being a king, to God's service, one of your sons. Let me see them all. Well, we know, if you read your Bible, that Jesse didn't even include David. Didn't even think about his son David. Why? I don't know. Because he was young, because he was little, because he was still a boy. He was taking care of the pets. He was taking care of the sheep. Okay? He was not a man ready to fight and ready to take on. But David did a census where he was going to count kids, youth. Okay? Now, I know you could advocate and say, well, Nichelle, people can join our military at 17. Heck, they can even join at 16 if they get parental permission, or if they're their own legal, if they don't have any parent, over them. There's a legal word for that, but right now it escapes me. So that is what our government is doing. Does that mean that it's right? Does everything that our government does? Is it right? Okay, well, we know. That's not true. So, God was hot, greatly displeased and angry with David. And when David brought this idea up to his close advisor, his seer, and I don't have his name handy, that man told David, this is a bad idea. This is not going to work out well for us if you go through with this. And he fought David on the idea, but David pressed him and said, no, we are going to do it. Well, guess what? It never happened. It was never completed because God was against it. Immediately, God struck out and said, hey, guess what, David? You get these 3 choices of death, more death, and a ton of death. And so there were 3 options that David could pick as a consequence, as a result of this sinful thing that he was planning. He was planning to exploit young people to be in the military of Israel. Was David already planning another war without seeking the Lord? This all, you guys, comes down to, regardless of the whole bringing in youth and taking away their innocence, taking away that short time that they have to be kids, because you got your whole life to be an adult, right? And even though David did cut off Goliath's head as a youth, David was an exception, and David didn't enter into the military of Israel for, I think, a few years after that. So he did not go into the military at 14, 15, whatever he was when he killed Goliath. No. So um, one of the options was pestilence. And so what happened was the angel of the Lord, which many argue is Jesus Christ in pre-incarnate form, Jesus came down with a sword and became the Punisher angel, the angel of death, and started slaying. So 70,000 men, boom, fighting men, the ones that David was calculating and planning and getting data on. 70,000 of them, boom, dead in one day. In one day. So King David and his advisors, or the Bible calls them elders, they were all together, and they actually saw the punishing angel, the angel of the Lord, with a sword drawn, headed and pointed toward Israel. And David cried out like, oh my God, please, it's my fault. This was my dumb idea to do this. I was plotting and planning. This is my move. Please punish my household. Please punish my family line. Do not take it out on these innocent people in Jerusalem. Please don't, God. And God the Father, Yahweh, relented and told the Punisher angel, the angel of the Lord, that's enough. We're going to call it quits right now. And I believe that spot became the actual location for Solomon's temple. They raised up an altar and burned incense out of respect for what they all witnessed, King David and his advisors that saw the punishing angel in the sky between heaven and earth. There he was with a sword. God allowed those guys to see that. So, the video today is about this. We can't take it with us. We can't take it with us. You know that phrase that says, you can't take it with you? Okay. Well, yesterday morning, late in the morning, like at 6 a.m., I heard the Lord say, you can't take it with you. And I was like, take what? Because that phrase usually refers to God, earthly riches, earthly wealth, that, you can't take it with you. Okay? That means like, you're not going to bring that with you into the afterlife. Okay? Don't treat it like it's your lover, your spouse, God, an idol. You're not taking that with you. What you're taking with you is what you did with Jesus on this planet. What you're taking with you is, your good deeds of righteousness. Were you a good mother? Were you a good daughter? Were you a good husband? You can take that with you into eternity, and you can take the good work that you did with God, but you can't take money with you. So at 7 in the morning, 6 a.m. something yesterday, I was awake, way awake at that point, and I was thinking to the Lord, talking to the Lord, thinking, and I was thinking about preserving and multiplying wealth, how to preserve and multiply wealth. And I was actually griping or, pondering to the Lord, meditating with the Lord on unfair, repetitive, reoccurring taxes. Okay, so, don't even get me started. So I was thinking about how our states and counties use property taxes. Property taxes. So anyways, then I heard God say, you can't take it with you. No, I believe what he's saying is two things. One, children of God, when God blesses you with triplets, twins, when he blesses you with this incoming blessing that's coming in, it may be births, it might be a marriage, it might be home, business, money, whatever it is, whatever. And as more blessings come in, you may want to preserve and multiply the wealth, preserve and multiply that business, preserve and multiply this wonderful family, that one day you'll have grandkids, And God's saying, I need to be in the forefront of what I'm giving you. I need to be in partnership with you. I need to be in covenant with you. I have given you this thing. And once I give it to you, I do not want to be left out. I do not want to be shelved. It is not going to be successful long term if you shelf me. We can't maintain it without the one who gave it to us. The one who gave it to us is going to help us maintain and grow it. Remember Matthew, the New Testament book of the Bible, where God gives out to his servants talents, which is some sort of measurement of currency. Okay, and he gives some people a few talents, and he gives one of them just one talent. Okay, then he comes back, and he's like, okay, so what have you done with this investment that I gave you? This money that I gave you, these talents, these coins. Okay, and one person's like, oh my gosh, God, I multiplied it, and one's like, I hid it under some dirt because I knew that you were a mean boss, and I was so afraid that I wouldn't have the talent anymore. So see, here it is. I didn't lose it. I hid it under a rock in a bush, under some dirt. Here you go, God. And who knows that chapter, right? So God says to the one who hid it, you wicked servant. Okay, we do not want God to call us a wicked servant. Okay? But God was so pleased with the one that multiplied the talents, right? Didn't he give them more? I can't remember, but anyways, don't hide, suppress, forget about, sit on, not utilize, not invest in the initial deposit that God gives to you. That blessing that God gives to you. It might be talents, attributes, passion, hobby, interests, intellectual ability, sales ability, communication, whatever God has given you, and whether you're a Christian or not, and you just happen to jump in on this video, if you're not a believer, listen, the one who created you, whoever you deem that to be, has given you a gift or one or more. You may be very talented. You may have lots of gifts. And what you want to do is parlay that, leverage it to make it really shine and glow. Why? Because God has made you to spread your wings and fly. God wants you to spread your wings and fly. I don't care who you are. I do not care who you are. It glorifies the Creator when his created beings shine and shimmer and do their thing, do it. Do it to the best of your ability. Shine, shine. It's miraculous. It shows all of creation, that there is a God. How come Jupiter doesn't have towers and castles and moats and zoos? And how come Jupiter doesn't? Because God has only put human beings on Earth. We are the only planet with life, this kind of life, intelligent life. I mean, if you just sit for 30 seconds and think about all that mankind and womankind have been able to achieve, and in my mind, I say in partnership with God. We can argue about that later, but I believe it's all in partnership with God. So what has man been able to do? Well, I don't know, create all kinds of medicines, create x-rays, create phone lines, create drones, create computers, create the internet, create electricity, create, medicines, I mean, what haven't we done? And we're going to do much more. So that's just a testimony and a testament that there is a mega intelligent source that created this whole ever living, ever changing and reacting resource called planet Earth. Okay, so you can't take it with you. God wants you to totally and fully enjoy your assignments and your blessings. Whatever he's given you, do it with joy. If what he gives you is the ability to have 10 children, and then you end up having 32 grandchildren from those 10 children, let joy and partnership with God be your operating foundation. Always stick to that alignment of God, so that you can have joy in that assignment of raising those children in the fear and admonition of the Lord. Right? You want to raise up Christians. Okay? It's got to be done from a place of joy and partnership with God, okay? Back in the day when I was doing social services work, we really focused on raising resilient kids, okay? Raising resilient children, okay? And I always talked about back then, joy is a key to resiliency. We've got to help these kids find their joy. What is their passion? What is their interest? Boom, that's a strength. That's their strength. Whatever gives them joy is their strength. That's going to be what their strong suit is. So let's have them develop that. And that's going to give them inspiration and confidence and hope and stuff like that. Okay? So it's the same thing with us. When God gives you those blessings, whatever they are, children, money, business, whatever, don't tell anybody. People will know you're pregnant when your tummy's out to here, you know. People will know that you were blessed when you buy your home. You know, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell your children. Don't tell anybody. Okay? But when that happens, keep God fully aligned with you. You are going to reserve and multiply, preserve and multiply, preserve and multiply, preserve and multiply your family, your business, your whatever it is. But it has to be done from a place of joy and confidence that you are on the winning team, that you can only win, in continual partnership, alignment, continual communication with God. So that is what that video today is about, that I'm concluding now, is that you can't take it with you, so don't overthink and lose your joy and lose your partnership and communication and alignment with God who gave you the thing, you know? Because when he said that at 6 a.m., I was kind of overthinking. I was thinking about preserving and multiplying wealth, but I was kind of complaining about reoccurring taxes, okay? Do not get me started on property taxes. So that's what I was mulling over. And then I think that I jumped from that to, something else that I think is corrupt. Okay. I was getting fired up about another business model in the U.S. that I think is fundamentally unfair. And that is auto insurance rates not being altered in the business model for people who don't drive. So, like, I'm talking about, like, elderly people often don't really use their cars that much. You know, they're not commuting anymore, okay? Or, like, people that work from home. Many people now work from home. Why should they be charged the same rate as somebody who is using their car all the time? Obviously, the probability is going to be way lower that you're going to get an auto accident when you rarely use your auto. Why is there no equity? That's not the right word. But no, accountability, no accounting for that difference in use of the vehicle. It only makes sense that they would have a different scale according to probability. If you use your car all the time, there's a higher chance that you're going to get in an accident. If you hardly ever use your car, but you need one, then the probability is so much lower that you're going to get an accident. Okay, so this is where my mind was going. Okay, and so, again, as I conclude, I think God was just saying, all that's true, probably, I don't know what he was saying about that, but he was just kind of saying, like, enjoy. Keep your mind, don't lose your joy. Don't go into rabbit trails and get all out of focus and get all wasting time on things like that all the time. Don't always go there. Like, excuse me, like, remain in joy. Because you will function at a higher level. If you are in joy, you will be a better parent. If you are always parenting from a place of joy and discovery with your child, okay? And when you are a business owner, you will operate at a higher level, a place of much more efficiency and creativity and synergy, and when you are in joy. Okay, so I think that's where God's saying, enjoy that money. You can't take it with you, so you better enjoy it. If I give you money, you better take everybody you know. on a trip to Disneyland. Okay. I mean, I got my problems with Disneyland, okay, but Disneyland used to be just a great, great, great place, right? And so it's really more Disney films that I have an issue with. Disney entertainment, some of it is just absolutely lame now. So, but the park, right? Enjoy your money. Take your. If you've got little kids, take them to Disneyland. Okay, you guys, have a great day, and remember, you want to operate out of joy so that you can preserve and multiply the blessings that God is giving you. Really enjoy it, because you can't take it with you, and you're going to be doing your best for Him and yourself and your health if you're running everything from a place of joy. Don't do what David did and take a census, take control away from God, and think, I can build a really big army. I'm going to recruit 12-year-olds. I'm going to count the 13-year-old boys. And then in my pride and hubris, I can tell all the nations in this area, this massive landmass that God has given Israel, I can let all the nations know what a big deal we are, what a big country we are, because we have this big military made of, eight-year-olds, 8-year-olds through, 40 or 35-year-olds or whatever. God did not want him counting little youngsters, and He did not want him excluding the sovereignty, God's plan of protection for the nation of Israel. Don't divorce that, because God's like, what? Do you not remember how Jericho went down? That was all me. Do you not remember how I protected y'all when I opened up a sea so you could walk through on dry land? Do you not? So God's like insulted, like, what are you doing? I'm the one. You're not God. I'm the one that got y'all this far. Okay? So we don't want to go down that path and do as David did. Okay. Got it? Okay. Talk to you later.